Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the story where love and hatred are only a heartbeat apart. There are mornings that seem peaceful until you realize that peace is just a thin mist hiding an oncoming storm. And this morning is one of them, when Tuna wakes up holding her 3-month-old baby and senses that something terrible is about to happen. From the distant city Mai, the woman who was once a friend, once a secret lover, sends out a cold command: make her disappear. But Mai doesn't know this. When some women are pushed to the edge, they stop being fragile, they become fire. In this episode, we'll witness a mother willing to risk everything to protect the child she loves, a man running through the rain to save the trust that's been broken, and a scheme slowly coming to light as darkness can no longer hide the guilt it carries. If you're ready, let's step into that morning when the sun hasn't yet risen, but the breath of danger is already creeping through every corner of the farm. Don't look away, because sometimes silence is far more terrifying than the sound of a gunshot. The sky had just begun to lighten. The fog was so thick, it felt like the trees themselves were breathing. Cold air slipped through the cracks of the door and crawled into the small room. Tuna opened her eyes. A shiver ran down her spine. There wasn't a sound, no wind, no rooster, but a mother's instinct told her something was wrong. It wasn't the breeze. It wasn't the silence. It was the feeling of being watched quiet close like a breath against her ear. She sat up slowly. Henry was still asleep in the old wooden cradle, his tiny hands gripping the edge of the blanket. Tuna placed her palm on his chest, feeling the faint but steady rhythm of his heart, and for a moment, hers steadied too. Then in the next second, a faint smell of cigarette smoke mixed with the fog made her whole body tense. Someone was out there. She didn't hesitate. Tuna lifted Henry into her arms and wrapped the blanket tightly around him. The baby stirred and gave a soft cry. Shh. It's okay, sweetheart, she whispered, her lips trembling. The crying stopped, leaving only the sound of the baby's weak breathing blending with the early morning mist. She threw on a coat and stuffed a few things into a small bag, a bottle, some diapers, and a small wooden bracelet her mother had worn while pregnant with her. The door opened without a sound. Outside, the farm was drowned in gray fog, silent enough to make her skin crawl. Step by step, Tuna moved along the fence line, avoiding the main gate. Her bare feet pressed against the wet ground, cold and quiet. Henry shifted slightly, his lips pressing together in uneasy sleep. By the time she reached Mrs. Tang's house, the sun hadn't yet risen. Mrs. Tang opened the door, startled to see Tuna standing there, hair messy, dark circles under her eyes, clutching her baby as if afraid he'd disappear. Tuna. What happened, dear? Please keep Henry for me just for today. I have to go back. Go back. It's not even light out yet, I have to. Her voice was soft, but firm, her eyes sharp and clear through the mist. Mrs. Tang took the baby, her hands trembling. Henry let out a small cry. Tuna leaned down, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "Sleep well. Don't be scared. Mommy will be right back." The wooden gate closed behind her. The click echoed dry and final, like the sound of peace being cut off. Tuna turned toward the dirt path leading back to the farm, and as she reached the edge of the road, the sight in front of her froze her in place. 4, maybe 5 strange men were walking through the gate. One wore a hood, another carried a metal rod. Their heavy boots crushed the wet grass. "She's here, right? Yeah." The boss said, "Just scare her a bit. But if you see the kid, grab him. Big payout for that." Tuna backed up, hiding behind a clump of bamboo, hand clamped over her mouth to quiet her breathing. The wind swept through, carrying the scrape of metal on gravel, a sound that made her stomach twist. Inside, her fear rose like a tide. But so did something hotter. They came for my son. For Henry. She clenched her jaw, eyes locked on the gate. The first light of dawn touched her pale face, but her gaze had changed, no longer afraid but sharp and determined. Tuna sank deeper into the shadows, her breath blending with the cold fog. If they want to touch Henry, they'll have to go through me first. From somewhere above, a bird startled and took flight, its wings slicing through the silence, marking the beginning of a mother's fight. Morning in the city. The sky was the color of ash wind, rattling the trees and making the windows hum. Alex had just stepped into the office, his shirt still damp from the rain the night before. He hadn't even turned on his computer when his phone buzzed, an unfamiliar number from the village. "Mr. Alex?" "It's me, Mrs. Tang." Her trembling voice cracked through the wind on the other end. "Mrs. Tang, what's wrong?" "It's Tuna. She brought baby Henry to me early this morning. Said she'd only be gone a little while, but she hasn't come back. And I heard people say there were some strangers near the farm. I'm scared." Alex froze. A chill shot straight down his spine. He set his coffee cup down too fast, it spilled, but he didn't even notice. "What did you say?" "We're the farm. I see smoke. I think someone's..." The line crackled and went dead, leaving only the sound of rain tapping against the connection, steady, heavy, like his heartbeat racing out of control. Alex grabbed his keys and bolted from the office, ignoring the stunned faces around him. The guard called out, "Mr. Alex, your car's not started yet." "Leave it," he shouted, fumbling with his phone as he ran dialing Tuna's number. No answer. Once, twice, 3 times. Only the rain answered back. The road was slick tires sliding, but he didn't slow down. The rain hit the windshield like needles, blurring everything ahead. In his mind, there was only one image: Tuna, clutching the baby, disappearing into the fog. He wondered if when she was scared, she still remembered his promise. "I won't let anyone hurt you again." A crack of thunder split the sky. The village road appeared muddy, empty, and eerily quiet. Alex slammed the brakes and jumped out before the car had even stopped. Dogs barked somewhere in the distance. The wind howled. He ran toward the gate, mud splashing up his legs. Ahead, the wooden gate to Tuna's house hung half open, one side bent and splintered. Deep footprints marked the wet ground. Tuna, his voice, tore through the empty air, echoing into nothing. No reply, only the sound of wind through the eaves and a small baby blanket caught on the fence, soaked and trembling in the breeze. Alex dropped to his knees and picked it up. The faint scent of milk Henry sent. He clenched it tightly in his fist, his eyes burning red. "Tuna, where are you? Please don't let me be too late." He rose, turning toward the stables behind the house, where a flicker of orange light glowed faintly through the rain. Without hesitation, Alex ran toward it, leaving behind the storm, the fear, and everything else driven by one instinct alone to protect the woman he loved. His voice faded into the wind, swallowed by the open air. On the ground, strange footprints were pressed deep into the wet mud, circling toward the old shed behind the garden. He crouched down, touching the print, large, heavy-soled, still fresh. His throat tightened. At the same time, behind the fence, LYTUNA was hiding in a patch of tall grass. She saw Alex. He was soaked mud on his shoulders, his hand gripping Henry's baby blanket. For a second, tears almost welled up, but heavy footsteps nearby made her duck down again. 3 men were moving through the yard, voices rough and impatient. Nothing here. Maybe she ran off. Check the stables. The boss said she's got a baby, she can't have gone far. Sweat gathered on LYTUNA's forehead despite the cold air. She knew if they found the baby blanket, it would all be over. Her eyes darted around and landed on a large water barrel near the well, half covered by moss and an old tarp. An idea flashed through her mind. She bit her lip, then suddenly bolted from her hiding spot, circling the house and kicking down the tarp. The crash echoed water, splashing everywhere. "There, over there!" one of them shouted. All 3 took off in that direction. Alex heard the noise and spun around. His heart stopped when he saw her. The long hair, the gray shirt, bare feet splashing through the mud. LYTUNA was running. "LYTUNA," yelled her name, voice breaking. She didn't answer. She only looked back for a brief second, a look that said everything, "Don't come closer. Trust me." The men were closing in fast. LYTUNA slipped, falling hard by the edge of a field, mud splattering across her face. One of the men lunged to grab her, but Alex appeared through the fog, slamming his fist into the man's shoulder, sending him stumbling backward. The other 2 froze, startled by his sudden appearance. "Who the hell are you?" Alex shouted, his voice cutting through the air. "None of your business. Stay out of it." One snapped, still gripping the metal rod. Alex didn't move. His eyes were cold, nothing like the calm man he usually was. "She's the woman I love. And if any of you touch her, I swear you'll regret it for the rest of your lives." LYTUNA looked at him, her lips trembling. She had wanted to say it so many times that she didn't need saving, only to be believed. But hearing those words, every wall she had built inside her fell apart. The men, realizing the situation had turned against them, cursed under their breath and backed away, disappearing into the fog. Alex turned to her, helping her to her feet. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, though her body was still trembling. "Mrs. Tang?" "Henry." "I know," he said gently. "She called me. Henry's safe." She broke down, tears streaming down her face and onto his wrist. Alex tightened his grip on her shoulder. "You don't have to be strong alone anymore, LYTUNA. It's time I knew the truth, and we end this together." In the distance, the first light of morning broke through the fog, touching their faces, wet, exhausted, but steady. The fear hadn't passed yet, but trust had finally returned. Evening settled in, and the rain had stopped. The wind that came after the storm swept through the yard, making the areca palms by Mrs. Tang's gate sway and scatter the last drops of water onto the path. Alex guided LYTUNA through the gate. Mrs. Tang rushed out from the house, panic written across her face. "LYTUNA, are you all right?" "Oh my God, you're so pale." LYTUNA shook her head slightly. her voice hoarse from exhaustion. "I'm okay, Grandma. Henry, where's my baby in the room? He's sleeping soundly. Poor thing, he must have been scared too." Mrs. Tang sighed, worry clouding her eyes. "Thank goodness for you, Alex. If you hadn't come when you did, I don't even want to think about it." Alex glanced at her, a faint, weary smile on his face. "I just did what I had to, ma'am. But from now on, I won't let that happen again." The small house glowed softly under the warm light of an oil lamp. The smell of rice porridge and braised fish filled the quiet air. Henry slept peacefully in his wicker cradle by the corner, breathing evenly, his tiny hands gripping the edge of his blanket. Mrs. Tang set the table, speaking gently. "Eat, both of you. You probably haven't had a bite all day." Tuna sat down, but the spoon stopped halfway to her lips. She stayed silent, eyes distant, as if holding herself together was the only thing keeping her from breaking. Alex sat across from her, watching quietly. After a long pause, he spoke, voice low and steady. "Don't worry anymore, Tuna. It's over now. Eat something. I'm here. No one's going to hurt you again." She looked up. The lamplight cast his shadow on the wall, tall, calm, yet his eyes were heavy, like someone who had just walked through a storm. "You don't understand, Alex." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I'm always afraid. Afraid that everything I have could disappear in one night, just like today." He reached across the table, gently taking her hand. "Not everything, Tuna. What you still have is trust. And I won't let anyone take that from you again." Mrs. Tang said nothing, only nodded quietly. Outside, the sound of crickets began to rise, and a soft breeze brushed against the curtains. No one spoke after that, but in the silence, something had changed, a thread between them, fragile, yet stronger than ever. Henry stirred in his sleep and let out a soft cry. Tuna stood quickly to soothe him. Alex watched her, his gaze softening. He realized that even through fear and exhaustion, she was still the most tender mother he had ever seen. As night deepened, the sky cleared. The moonlight slipped through the palms, shining down on the old house where 3 weary souls had found a fragile peace after the storm. And in that quiet moment, Alex knew the real battle wasn't over yet. But he also knew, this time, he wasn't walking away, no matter what came next.
Xin chào các bạn thân mến. Đằng sau những nụ cười nhìn của Maya là một sự đầy cay đắng. Đứa trẻ đáng yêu nhưng lại lớn lên trong bóng tối của một người cha tồi tệ. Chính vì thế Huyền, người mẹ đơn thân, đã phải mang con bỏ đi để tìm cuộc sống mới. Thế nhưng khi trưởng thành, khi tưởng chừng một cánh cửa đều khép lại thì để xuất hiện, anh không chỉ là chỗ dựa trong những ngày giông bão mà còn là người đàn ông để đã thề sẽ đem lại hạnh phúc cho hai mẹ con. Nhưng người số phận có để cho họ bình yên một lần nữa, hoặc cũng là không chỉ tìm cô cướp đi những gì họ đang có và cùng mình theo dõi hành trình cảm xúc bây giờ. Và buổi sớm mặt trời nữa sau lại xa chim rích chích trên nhánh tre, họ cùng một khói bếp lan nhẹ của gió để cùng mình theo nhau từng lát rau lên vỡ nhưng gỗ chợt nghe tiếng gọi cho từ ra đến tiếng tựa cửa ánh mắt sáng như ngăn cản khi đi ra căn nhà này thực sự đẹp lòng nhưng mong lòng cùng anh sống ở đây bên kia cô độc thân mình vì nhìn đến mắt vì đến mắt ấy cô bé vẫn không chỉ theo lẽ xem cô để cùng bước ra ngoài sân áo chặt nối cho nhỏ quay sang khoe người đi sắp có một căn nhà mới rồi đấy. Huyền vội hỏi, con giọng cô bé ngủ mặt sau này